The royal skies of Elinari were always quiet. Soft blue clouds drifted above silver towers, and music floated through the air from open gardens. Princess Leia, youngest daughter of Queen Arella, often walked those gardens in silence. She loved the calm, the light, and the stories told by wind. But now, her world felt different. Ships from another world had been seen near their borders. The queen said there was no danger. Elinari had always been peaceful, far from war. But after the last visit from the Galactic Council, something in Leia's heart said things were changing, and they were 2 days ago. The queen's personal guard had been ambushed during a peace mission. 3 were hurt, 1 had not returned. They were attacked by unknown forces outsiders who wore no known badge. The queen tried to hide this news, but word had spread quickly. Whispers filled the halls. Leia listened. She was not a fighter. She had never held a weapon. Her world did not believe in war. But she also knew what she saw in her people's eyes, now fear. That morning, Carter arrived. He was a human soldier, tall, quiet, and with eyes that had seen too much. He had been sent by the Galactic Peace Force to offer help and advice. The queen didn't trust him, not fully, but accepted him as a guest. Humans were known as warriors. Some called them dangerous. Others called them protectors. Leia wasn't sure yet what to believe, but when she saw him training near the edge of the palace gardens, she stood still. He moved with purpose. He didn't waste time. Every step, every breath, every turn of his arm was focused. He shot at moving targets that flew in loops around him, and he hit them every time. "How do you do that?" Leia asked from behind a tree. Carter turned slowly. He didn't expect anyone to be watching. "Practice," he said simply. "Would you teach me?" she asked. Carter blinked. "Teach you?" "Yes." Leia nodded. "I want to learn." He didn't answer right away. He looked at her soft robes, her thin fingers, her golden eyes filled with quiet fire. "Do your people allow that?" he asked. "No," she said, "but I want to learn anyway." Carter could have said no. He knew it would cause trouble. Teaching a royal was not a small thing, but he saw something in her eyes. Not just fear, something stronger. "Fine," he said, "but don't expect it to be easy." "I won't," she whispered. They met again the next day, early before the sun reached the high tower tops. Carter brought her a basic practice weapon, small, harmless, meant only for training. She held it like it was a piece of glass. "It won't bite." He said, "I've never held anything like this," Leia admitted. "Then we start slow," he said. "First, stand straight. Feet apart, not too wide." "Find balance," she tried. He corrected her posture, gently moving her arms. "Now raise your hand," he said. "Keep your eyes on the target." A small floating disc hovered a few feet away. "When you feel steady," Carter said, "pull the trigger. Gently. Not fast. Not hard. Let it feel like part of you." Leia nodded. Her fingers shook. "Pull the trigger gently," he repeated softly. She pressed. The light beam shot out and missed by 2 meters. Leia frowned. "I'm sorry." "Never say sorry when learning," Carter said. "Just try again." They trained for an hour. She missed every shot. But each time, Carter didn't show anger. Only patience. That surprised her. She thought human soldiers would yell. But Carter was quiet, calm, like a still river with strong currents beneath. On the 3rd day, she hit the target once. Just barely. "You saw that?" she asked quickly. "Yes," he said. "Good. Now again." She smiled. Not because of praise, but because he believed she could do better. On the 4th day, she brought her own gloves. On the 5th, she arrived before him every day. Carter changed the training. He taught her how to move, how to breathe, how to see. "Don't. Just look," he said. "Observe. Know where the target will go. Think before you act." "But you move so fast," Leia said. "I don't have your reflexes." "You don't need my reflexes," he said. "You need your own thinking." Slowly, Leia grew stronger. She stopped flinching, aimed without shaking. One day she hit 5 targets in a row. Carter nodded. "You're improving." "You're teaching," she said. "It's your effort," he replied. Later that evening, as the sky turned golden, they sat beneath a wide tree. Can I ask you something? Leia said. Sure. Why do you fight? Carter looked up at the leaves. He didn't speak right away. I've seen places fall, he said. I've seen people hurt. I fight to protect, not to destroy. But don't you get tired every day? He said. But if I stop, who protects those who can't fight? Leia nodded slowly. I never understood that. Not until now. They sat in silence a little longer. The next morning, a royal advisor found out about their training. He brought news to the queen, and there was shouting in the halls. The queen called for Leia. Why are you doing this? Her mother asked. Because peace alone doesn't stop danger, Leia said. I don't want to hide when trouble comes. The queen didn't answer at first. She looked at her daughter's steady hands and her serious face. We are not like the humans, she said. Maybe not, Leia said. But sometimes we must learn from others. The queen sighed. I will not stop you, but be careful. Once you take this path, you cannot turn back. I know, Leia whispered. She returned to Carter in the training field. They know, she said. I guessed, he replied. Will you still teach me? He looked at her, no longer just a princess, but something more. Double quotes, yes, he said. We've only just begun. The morning air was cool, and a light mist covered the training field. Princess Leia arrived before sunrise, her boots pressing softly into the wet grass. She wore simple clothes. No, nothing royal, nothing fancy, just fabric that allowed her to move freely. Carter stood at the edge of the field, checking the small floating drones he used for training. When he saw her, he gave a small nod. You're early, he said. I want to learn more today, she said. He handed her a practice weapon. It felt natural in her hand now, not heavy, not strange. Just part of her. Today we move. Carter said, you've learned to shoot while standing still. It's good. But in real danger, you won't get to stand still. Leia nodded. She already guessed this would come next. Carter activated the drones. They began to fly in curved paths. Around the field, your goal, he said, is to move between the markers and shoot each target. But don't rush. Speed without control is useless. Understood. She said. Carter blew a small whistle, and the first drone zipped into the air. Leia ran. She kept her eyes on the target, her arms steady. The first shot missed. It did the second, but the third hit. She didn't stop to celebrate. She kept moving, weaving between markers, aiming at the next drone. Carter watched carefully, saying nothing. He was always quiet during her practice. Only after would he speak. By the time she reached the end of the course, she was breathing hard. 2 hits out of 5, he said. Not bad. Not good either, she replied. He smiled slightly. You think like a soldier now. They practiced again, then again. Each time she improved. She began to hit 3 targets, then 4, sometimes all 5. She moved with more grace now, more purpose. Her body was learning to listen. After a long session, they sat under the same wide tree. Your focus is better, Carter said. Because I understand now, she said. This isn't just about aiming. It's about seeing, reading the field. He looked at her with surprise. Most soldiers take years to learn that. Then maybe I'll teach them one day, she said, half smiling. You might, replied. But the peace of that moment didn't last long. A messenger ran into the field. His skin was pale, his eyes wide with panic. Princess? General Elcor. Needs you? What's wrong? She asked, standing quickly. Unknown ships entered orbit. Queen Arella is holding a meeting now. You're wanted. Leia turned to Carter. Come with me. He didn't hesitate. They followed the messenger to the command hall, where maps lit the air with glowing stars and lines. The queen stood at the center, surrounded by advisors. They all fell silent when Leia entered with Carter. More ships, the queen said softly. Not from the council, not from any known ally. They carry no flags, no signals. Invaders, Carter said without doubt. We don't know their intentions, the queen said. But we must be ready. And we're not. One of the generals admitted. Carter stepped forward. Then let's change that. The Queen looked at him, unsure. We don't have much time, he said. They may land soon. I've seen this before. If they stay silent, it's not peace they want. The room went quiet. I'll help train the guards, Carter continued. We can set up basic defenses. We have hours, not days. The Queen nodded slowly. Do what you must. I stepped beside him. I'll help too. No, the Queen said quickly. You've trained in secret. That was risky enough. Mother, Leah said, her voice calm. I trained because I saw this coming. If I don't help now, then what was the point? Queen Orella stared at her daughter. Her hands tightened around the edge of the map table. Finally, she gave a small nod. Very well, but be careful. Leah left with Carter and the guards. In the following hours, the palace turned into a training ground. Carter moved quickly, showing soldiers how to aim, how to hold, how to plan. He didn't shout. He showed. He made them believe they could fight. Leia trained beside them. At first, the guards hesitated. She was their princess. But soon, they saw her skill. They listened. She taught them what Carter had taught her. Breathe slow, she told one young guard. Keep your eyes on the target, and when it's time, pull the trigger gently. The guard nodded and hit the drone dead. Senator Carter watched from a distance. Pride filled his chest. Later that night, they stood on the watchtower, looking at the stars. Dark shapes floated high above the planet. No signals, no movement. They're watching, Carter said, studying us. Waiting for a week. Point, Leah asked. Maybe, he said, or maybe for nightfall. Leah turned to him. Will we be ready? Carter didn't answer right away. Then he looked at her and said, You'll be ready. They stayed there in silence, side by side, stars above, fear below, and a strange new strength between them. The next day would decide everything. The sky darkened earlier than usual. Clouds gathered above the royal palace, casting long shadows over the towers. The 5 unknown ships still floated in the sky, silent and still. No message, no warning, no request for peace, just silence. Carter stood in the command hall, checking the defense plans one more time. The palace guards had been placed across key areas. Energy shields had been raised. Drone launchers were ready. Everything was quiet, but the tension in the air was heavy. Leia walked in wearing light armor. It wasn't as strong as human combat gear, but it allowed movement. It had been made specially for her by the palace armorer who never thought that Princess would need it. You're ready? Carter asked. Leia nodded. I slept 2 hours. I couldn't rest more. Same here, he replied. Your people are scared. They look at you and they stand taller. It's because I'm pretending to be calm, she said softly. He gave her a small smile. Sometimes pretending works. A signal flashed on the main display motion near the southern forest. We have landing pods, one of the commanders said. 15. No, 20. Heading for the East Valley. Carter's eyes narrowed. They're testing our response. They want to see how fast we move. Then we should show them, Leah said. Not with full force, Carter said. That's what they want. They want us to empty the palace. He pointed to the map. We split our teams. Send a small squad to hold the valley, but keep the main force here. We'll know this is more than a test. Queen approved the plan, and Carter left to lead the East Valley team himself. Leah followed. You should stay here, Carter told her. No, Leah said. I trained for this. I believe in what you taught me. He stared at her for a moment, then nodded. Then stay close. Listen to every order. This isn't training anymore. They boarded a small transport and flew low over the forest. Smoke rose in the distance. The pods had landed near the village outside the palace border. Carter counted 6 as they flew over. They're not just scouts, he said. They're soldiers. Leah readied her weapon, her hands steady now. The ship landed, and the squad moved out. The village was quiet, too quiet. Carter raised his fist, signaling the team to stop. Movement behind the walls, he whispered. They're hiding. One of the guards took a step forward too fast. A laser beam shot out from the shadows and hit his shoulder. He fell back. With a cry, "Get cover!" Carter shouted. The battle began. Enemy soldiers rushed out of the building stall, armored and fast. They fired without speaking. The air filled with light and sound. Carter moved like a shadow, returning fire and shouting commands. Leia stayed close, helping a guard back to safety before taking cover behind a stone wall. "Princess, stay low," one of the guards shouted. "I know what I'm doing," she replied. Her heart pounded, but she remembered the lessons. Slow breath, steady hands. She peeked over the wall and saw one enemy moving fast toward a fallen guard. She raised her weapon, aimed and whispered to herself, pulled the trigger gently. The beam hit the attacker's leg and he fell. The guard rolled to safety. Another enemy turned toward her. Raising his weapon before Leia could react, Carter stepped in front of her and fired. The attacker dropped. "You okay?" Carter asked. Leia nodded, her face pale but firm. "Yes, thank you. Stay behind me," he said. "Watch the sides." By side. Leia's confidence grew. She hit 3 more targets, protecting the wounded and helping others regroup. After 10 minutes, the enemies began to fall back. "They're retreating," a guard shouted. Carter watched them disappear into the trees. "They're not finished," he said. This was just the start. They secured the village and helped the injured. Carter spoke to the Queen through a communicator and gave a full report. Leia sat on a low bench, wiping dirt from her armor. Her hands trembled a little. Carter sat beside her. "You did well?" "I was scared," she said. "So was I," he replied. "Fear means you care. It doesn't make you weak." "I kept hearing your words in my mind," she said. "Pull the trigger gently." "I didn't forget. You didn't miss," he said. Leia looked at him, a small smile on her face. "You think I'm ready for what's coming?" He nodded. "You're more ready than most soldiers I've trained." "Because of you," she said. "Because of you," he replied. "I just helped you find your strength." The stars above. The village twinkled, but the ships in orbit remained as night fell. The people of the village lit soft lamps and placed them on the ground to honor the fallen and the brave. Leia joined them, kneeling beside a young girl who had watched the whole battle from her home. "You're the princess," the girl whispered. "Yes," Leia said softly. "And you're not afraid to fight?" Leia shook her head. "I'm afraid. But I won't run," the girl smiled. Carter watched from a distance. He knew the princess he had met was not the same girl who now comforted others with strength in her voice, and deep inside, feared what the next day would bring because battles like this didn't end in one fight. The morning light was pale and cold. Princess Leia woke before dawn. The sounds of the palace were quiet but heavy with worry. Reports had come that the enemy was preparing a larger attack. This time it would be closer to the palace walls. Lala, dressed quickly in her light armor, she was no longer the shy girl who had first held a weapon. Now she moved with purpose, her steps sure and steady. Carter waited for her at the training field. He had spent the night planning new strategies with the guards. "Today will be harder," he said. "They know we fought back. They will come stronger." Leia nodded. "Then we must be stronger." They began training again, but this time Carter added new lessons. "When you fight," he said, "it's not just about shooting. You watch your surroundings. Listen for sounds. Trust your instincts." Leia listened carefully. Carter showed her how to check her blind spots, how to move quietly, how to use the landscape for cover. After the training, they joined the council meeting. Queen Arella and her advisors were there. The queen's face was pale. "Our scouts report enemy forces landing near the northern river," the queen said. "We must prepare." Carter and Leia were sent to the northern front with a group of guards. When they arrived at the riverbanks were crowded with soldiers and machines. The enemy was digging in, setting up defenses. Leia watched them carefully. She felt a strange mix of fear and determination. "We can't let them cross the river," Carter said. "If they do, the palace is vulnerable." Leia tightened her grip. "On her weapon?" "What's the plan?" "We set traps," Carter said. "Use the terrain, slow them down, give our soldiers time." They worked through the day, setting energy nets, motion sensors, and traps in the thick forest near the river. Leah learned quickly how to hide traps without being seen. She helped train the young guards on how to use them. When night fell, Carter and Leah sat near the campfire. The stars were clear, but the air was tense. "Do you ever miss home?" Leah asked quietly. Carter looked into the fire. "Sometimes. But home is where you protect what you love." Leah smiled softly. I'm starting to understand." Suddenly, alarms rang. Lights flashed red. "They're coming!" a guard shouted. Carter stood. "Everyone ready? Remember your training?" Leah took her position near the riverbank. She could hear the quiet splash of enemy soldiers crossing the water. The battle began silently. Leah moved like a shadow, her eyes sharp. She spotted a small group crossing under cover of trees. She aimed carefully, whispered, "Pull the trigger gently," and fired. The beam hit one soldier's weapon, causing it to spark and fail. The others froze. The trap snapped shut behind them, catching several more. Carter smiled. "Good work." But the fight was far from over. Enemy forces pushed harder, firing beams and grenades. The ground shook. Leah and Carter fought side by side, protecting the traps and the soldiers behind them. Leah saw one of the younger guards fall, hit by enemy fire. Without thinking, she ran forward to help. Carter followed quickly. She dragged the guard to safety and applied a healing band. "Thank you," the guard whispered. Leah nodded, not baiting back tears. The battle raged through the night. When the first light of dawn broke, the enemy began to retreat. Leah looked over the battlefield, broken trees, scorched earth, and tired faces. Carter placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did well?" Leah smiled weakly. "We all did." They returned to the palace with news of the victory and the cost. The queen met them with quiet pride. "You showed courage," she said to Leah, "and wisdom." Leah felt a new strength inside her. She was no longer just a princess. Soldier. But Carter knew the war was not over. He saw the weight growing on her young shoulders. That evening, as they prepared for the next battle, Carter said softly, "Remember, no matter how fierce the fight, always pull the trigger gently." Leah looked at him and nodded. She was ready. The battle had changed everything. Princess Leia moved quickly through the palace halls. Her armor still carried the marks of the fight, small scratches and smudges of dirt, but her steps were strong and sure. The young soldiers she had trained now looked up to her as more than royalty. She was a leader. Carter stood at the edge of the command room, watching the maps flicker with new reports. The enemy was growing bolder, pushing closer to the palace walls every day. They were no longer testing defenses. They wanted control. Leia approached him quietly. "What's the plan?" she asked. Carter looked at her, tired but focused. "We prepare for the worst. The enemy plans to attack the palace directly." Leah's heart tightened. "We won't let that happen." "Good," Carter said. "But this time, we need to be ready for anything." They spent the day with the council, drawing up defense strategies and organizing the troops. Leah's mind raced. She remembered every lesson Carter had taught her: patience, focus, control. That night, as the palace rested under a dark sky, a sudden alarm shattered the silence. "The enemy is here," a guard shouted. Leia and Carter rushed to the battle stations outside. The ground shook as enemy forces advanced. Leia took her position with the front line. The fight was fierce. Lasers cut through the air, and explosions lit the night. Leia moved. With skill, her weapon steady in her hands, she saw a group of enemy soldiers trying to flank the palace walls. Without hesitation, she aimed carefully, pulled the trigger gently. She whispered to herself and fired. The beam hit its mark, stopping the attackers. Carter fought beside her, covering her back. They worked as one. During the battle, Leia saw a young soldier fall, injured badly. Without a second thought, she ran through the fire to help him. Carter followed closely, protecting her. Leah dragged the soldier to safety and called for medics. You saved me, the soldier said weakly. We save each other, Leah replied. The battle lasted for hours. When the enemy finally retreated, the palace guards cheered. Leah felt exhausted but proud. Carter approached her. You fought like a true soldier today. Leah smiled tiredly. I learned from the best. As dawn broke, Queen Arella came to the battle site. Leah, she said softly, you have grown stronger than I imagined. Leah looked at her mother, feeling a deep respect. This war will not end soon, the queen said, but you have given us hope. Leah nodded. We will protect our people. Carter placed a hand on her shoulder. I will be here to help. Leah looked up at him. Thankful, she was no longer just the shy princess who learned to hold a weapon. She was a warrior, and the war was far from over. The war had changed the world of Elinari forever. The quiet gardens were no longer peaceful. Soldiers marched in the streets, and the palace was alive with constant activity. But among all this change, Princess Leia stood strong. She had grown. From the shy girl who once fumbled with a weapon into a true leader, her courage had inspired not only the soldiers, but also her people. The queen had trusted her to train the next generation of defenders. Carter stayed close, teaching and guiding. Together, they built a new academy, a place where young aliens learned not just to fight, but to think, to plan, and to protect. One morning, Leah walked through the training grounds. Young students practiced with weapons and drills. Many were nervous, but Leah smiled at each one. Remember, she told them, strength is not just in your arms. It is in your mind and heart. You can always pull the trigger gently. A small group gathered around her, listening closely. Among them was a young girl who reminded Leah of herself, a bit unsure, but eager to learn after training. Leah and Carter met in the command hall. New reports came from the edge of their territory. The enemy had not forgotten Elinari. Small raids continued, but nothing close to the battles they had fought. We are stronger now, Carter said, but we cannot be careless. Leah nodded. We will protect our home. They spoke quietly about the future, about peace, and about hope. Leah thought about the lessons she had learned at the patience. Careful aim, the gentle pull of a trigger that made all the difference. She knew the war was not over, but she was. Ready? Carter looked at her and said, You have become more than a soldier. You are a symbol. Leah smiled. And you helped me find that. They stood together watching the sunset over the palace. The sky was bright with colors, a promise of better days. And in that moment, Princess Leia knew that no matter what came, would face it with strength, wisdom, and a gentle hand.